thanks so much for tuning in to our very first video on Imperi Auto. This channel is going to be focused on all things auto related, news, auto accessories, reviews, classics, used cars. I've got some fun tests planned and all sorts of stuff in the future, so thank you so much for checking us out. I found that the new 2023 Z would be the perfect car to discuss for my first video, as my history with the Z car spans decades, honestly. More about that in a minute. Cars were a really big part of my childhood. My passion for cars started at a very young age, like most of us, I think, and I've finally taken the leap to start a car editorial channel as a passion project that I hope to grow over time. So I hate to do it, but please, if you could, like, subscribe, comment, etc., etc. I know it gets redundant, but it really is going to help the channel grow, and I greatly appreciate the support. So now let's talk more about the new Z. My love for Z cars started very, very early on. Middle school, maybe even elementary school. I remember seeing Zs on the road as a child, starting with later Z31 models, and then, of course, the famous Z32 300ZX. And I always had an attraction to those cars. There was just something about them. They had a presence on the road that I just always found so cool. A little bit later on when I was in high school, one of my buddies had a Z31 Turbo. I think it was an 86. And as we grew older and got our licenses, man, we used to tear up the roads in that car. And what was cool was around that time, my parents ended up buying a couple-year-old Z32 300ZX 2+2 that we affectionately named Ruby, as you can see on the screen now. It was everything I dreamed of. And here you have a 16-year-old boy that just got his license. And once in a great while, my parents would let me take that thing for a spin. While it wasn't the twin turbo, it was quick for its time, and it had beautiful paint. When it was shined up and the T-tops out in the summer when you're out of school, it was just heaven. It was a really cool experience getting to drive that, and it was kind of the height of the JDM supercars in the 90s, which just was a really, really awesome experience looking back. I ended up purchasing my very first car a little bit later on when I had saved up enough money, and I wanted a Z. Now, I couldn't afford a Z32, obviously, but I did end up finding a red Z31 manual car, one owner, and you can see that on the screen now, and I affectionately named that one the Red Rooster. I look back on this in my life, and it's one of those cars that I really regret selling. I think a lot of us have that. You know, maybe it's a bit through rose-colored glasses and all. I mean, modern cars have come so far. And sometimes when you go back and you drive those older cars that you remember when you were younger, it's just the most amazing things in the world. They're not quite as great as you remember them. But it's still such an amazing car, and I wish I still had one. Yeah, have you seen the prices of Z31s lately? Anyway, that's a little bit about my history with the Z. So let's talk about the new 2023 Z. When I first saw the promo pictures and videos trickle out, I must say this was the first time I've truly been excited about a new Z car in a while. I think we all know the 370, while it was great for its time, it's an old car. It was very long in the tooth, and it was time for a change. And I think a lot of us didn't even know what Nissan was going to do. Nissan hasn't exactly been on their A game for a while. So I wasn't sure that Nissan was even going to do a new Z. I know the GTR is getting long in the tooth, and the world has gone to SUVs, hybrids, crossovers, full electric is coming, whether we like it or not. So Nissan really took a leap of faith with this car, and I'm just ecstatic that they did. I'm generally not a huge fan of the whole throwback retro designs. I know Ford did it with the Mustang. Chevrolet did it with Camaro, and it was a little more modernistic, but you did have some throwback in there. I don't dislike them, but I wanted something fresh from Nissan. And I have to say, while there is a lot of retro throwback in this new Z car, I think Nissan knocked this out of the park. It's just enough retro that you can look at the car and you know, hey, that's a Z car. But it has a modern edge to it, and I really like what Nissan did with a lot of the elements pulling from the multiple generations of the Z car. Let me read a little bit what Nissan said in their press release. A little bit of PR speak, but they did say that, this is a pure expression of thrill. It's Nissan's passion wrapped up on four wheels, and I see where they're going with this. That was by Ashwani Gupta. He's a representative executive officer and chief operating officer for Nissan Motor Corp. The new Z retains its authenticity as a pure sports car to keep you connected to the road, bringing the latest technologies to make sure you can keep the car connected to your life. And I think that's a good representation because I'm going to throw some pictures up here of the interior. I like how they didn't go crazy and over the top. You see it on a lot of new cars, and even the Highline cars, Mercedes, BMW. They've all got this impressive LED lighting and color changing and scent air freshening systems, and it's more like a nightclub than a car. And that's cool in a certain way, and I understand there's a demographic for that. But I like how Nissan added just enough tech, but it still looks like a classic analog Z car interior. I mean, I know it's got the 3 gauges, it gives it away, but to me, it's a good blend of modern with classic. They've also updated a lot of safety features. Nissan has a whole new safety package with blind spot monitoring and sensors, and a lot of the Japanese manufacturers are packaging this on all cars, and I think that's a good thing. And it's got most modern stuff like Apple CarPlay and Android Auto and all that stuff. Let's talk a little bit more about the engine. It's an Infinity-derived 3-liter V6 twin-turbo. There's a throwback to you Z32 fans like myself. It's a significant bump in power over the previous 370, the 3.7-liter, rated about 400 horsepower at 6,400 RPM, 350 foot-pounds of torque. About a 68 horsepower increase over the old 370. I mean, that's pretty cool. That's significant. I don't think there's any specifics yet about the curb weight of the car. I think the 370 was around 3,350 pounds, 3,300 pounds, somewhere around there. So I would expect it would be close to that since it is a pretty similar car to the old 370. I know under everything it's basically the same chassis, but they did update a lot of stuff. If they could make that car approximately the same weight as the 370. Now I know with turbos and piping and whatnot, probably might be a little bit heavier, but that's a pretty impressive power to weight ratio for what I think is going to be this price range of a sports car. So let's talk about the big news here. It is coming with a standard 6-speed manual transmission with an optional 9-speed automatic. Now listen, we all know the automatic is probably going to be quicker, but let me tell you, if you do not get this car in a manual, your punishment should be you get stuck with a Nissan CVT. I say that in jest, but I think that's a huge leap of faith for Nissan that they took making a manual standard. That's something BMW/Toyota did not do with the new Supra. And I know it's still a very limited market. And I know the internet is full of people screaming, save the manuals, bring back the manuals. And then when they go to the dealership, they don't buy the manual, they buy the automatic because it's just easier to live with in daily life. But for this kind of car, it's got to be a manual. It's got to be a manual. And I think what's really cool, and I hate to say this, this might kind of be a swan song because this could be one of the very last rear-wheel drive, front-engine, internal combustion sports coupes with a manual transmission. And that's just the facts. I'm sure we'll see other stuff down the line, but I think it's all going to be dual clutch, hybrid-based, full electric, etc. And we'll talk more about my thoughts and the future with electric cars. At launch, there's going to be 2 editions. There will be a sport model and a performance model. Now, from some of the information I've seen, it looks like the performance model may be leaning a little more towards like a hybrid of the old Touring 370Z with some performance stuff to it. They're also going to be launching a special limited edition at launch with only 240 units, 240Z. That's very cool. It's called the Proto Z, and it's the yellow car you see on the screen. It comes with these really cool bronze 19-inch Rays aluminum wheels. Now, there is some JDM cred going back to the Gran Turismo days. You guys remember buying Rays wheels in the performance shop? So it's really cool. I think those wheels are beautiful. I think those would look really good on the blue car as well. Some other stuff with the Proto Edition has yellow accents, etc., etc. But I think overall, Nissan really did an amazing job on this car. I know the grille is a little controversial. I personally like it better on the blue car than the yellow car. It seems to blend a little better, and I love the blue with the black roofline. It's one of these cars I think we're going to have to see it in person. And really, other than that controversial grille, there's not much I don't like about this car. I love the blue interior. It may be a bit over the top for some people, and as a matter of fact, I'm reading here that it's coming with a blue, red, and black interior. Interesting to see what the red is like, whether it's more like a Corvette lipstick red or if it's more like a Audi oxblood red. Now that would look slick, like a dark oxblood red over like a dark graphite gray. And then throw in those bronze ray wheels. Ooh, boy. And now I'm going to say the thing I think I like the most about this car. And maybe it goes back to my love for the Z32 for most of my life. But I think they absolutely nailed the rear end on this car. It is absolutely stunning, I think, personally. I love the throwback Z32 taillights. It has a very, very unique look of its own. So many cars are bubbly and swooped, and I know there's so many safety features and standards they have to meet now. But somehow I think they just pulled it off. And if you look down some of the press photos and footage you see on the screen now of the back end down the rear corner, it is just beautiful. I think it is stunning. It looks like a Z. You see that and you know it's a Z car, but it has its own unique flair. And I really think they nailed it. Anyway, that's my rundown, everyone, on the information out from Nissan on the new 2023 Z car. Let me know what you guys think. I'm really excited for it. What I think would be cool is as the channel grows, maybe this could be the first channel bought car sometime next year and we'll do a ton of content on it. That would be an amazing, amazing, amazing thing. So let me know what you think, guys. I appreciate you checking out the channel. I hope to do at least a couple videos a week. And again, this is a passion project that I've wanted to do for a long time, and it's something I love and talk about every day anyway. So I figured, what the hell? Let's do it. So thanks again. Talk soon.